Very good afternoon to one and all. I welcome you all for the next lecture of heat transfer. Please let me know whether my voice is audible and can you see my presentation. Great. So in today's lecture, we will try to understand first of all the heat pipe, and then we will start the next chapter, that is nothing but radiation, our third chapter, radiation. Okay. So heat pipe, actually it is included in new syllabus. It is included in boiling and condensation section, but it is one type of a heat exchanger, so that I have included this particular point in a heat exchanger subject, heat exchanger chapter. Okay. So first of all, try to understand what is meant by heat pipe. Okay. So why heat pipes are used and why there is more demand for heat pipe nowadays in the market. Okay, that is most important thing, because this is one type of a special heat exchanger. Okay, this is very special heat exchanger, and maybe it is invented near about 1989, and firstly invented in Germany. Okay, and the unique features of heat pipes are separate this particular exchanger, heat exchanger, from other heat exchangers. Okay, actually in this heat exchanger there is no moving part is present. Okay, and we can say that the large amount of heat, or we can obtain large amount of heat transfer rate by using the heat pipes. Okay, so what is most important factor about the heat pipe? So there is one working fluid. Okay, in heat exchanger, in this heat pipe, and that working fluid transfer the heat by changing its phase. Okay, by changing its phase. We know that we all of you are aware about the latent heat of evaporation and latent heat of a condensation. Okay, and by uh, considering that point only, about the latent heat of any fluid, this particular heat pipes are designed. Okay, these particular heat pipes are designed. Okay, so we can expect very large amount of heat transfer by using this heat pipe, and the area required to transfer this heat is very small. Okay, as we know that we all aware that there is a relationship between the heat transfer rate and the area. As the area increases, the heat transfer rate increases, but whenever the area availability is very small. Okay, take the example of our PC. Okay, take the example of a laptop. Okay, where the compact devices are there, and the heat generated in that devices want, that particular manufacturer want to transfer very fastly from the generation location. Okay, where the heat is generated. Okay, so in PCs, processors are there. Okay, ICs are there, where the large amount of heat is generated, because, and the resistors are also there. So because of that resistors, ICs, or we can say that the processors, the amount of heat is generated in the PCs, and which will be harmful for the device. Okay, which will be harmful for the device. And at an instant, the requirement is that at an instant of movement, we have to, or that particular device have to transfer the heat to the surrounding or to the atmosphere. Until and unless the device will not work, or that particular PC or the laptop will not function properly. Okay, so to fulfill these requirements of electronics devices, industrial applications, the invention of a heat pipe is one kind of evaluation in heat exchangers. Okay, one kind of evolution in the sector of heat exchangers. So the basic fundamental to manufacture the heat pipe is nothing but use of latent heat. Okay, is nothing but use of latent heat. Okay, so here the heat pipes are using on the basis of latent heat of evaporation and latent heat of a condensation. Okay, so that is the main function of or we can say the main fundamental of heat pipe. Okay, so these particular heat pipes are made up of three sections. First one is the evaporator section, second one is the condenser section, and third one is the adiabatic section. So let us see this particular three sections and the particular diagram for the heat pipe. Okay, so construction feature you can see here. So there is one large one, you can say that there is a tube, okay, and which is sealed on both the sides. Okay, there is no exposure of the internal environment to the external environment. Okay, so these are sealed or braced at both the ends. Okay, these are braced at the both the ends. Okay, now this particular external structure or these tubes are made up of various material. One can say that steel, aluminum, copper. So these materials are used, but the most important thing that while manufacturing the heat pipes, the consideration is that the maximum amount of heat should be transferred. Okay, so so that we can say that the conductivity of a material, the material whose conductivity is larger one, so that will transfer the maximum amount of it. So in that case we need to consider the materials which are having larger thermal conductivity, okay, as compared to the other material, if you want to transfer the maximum amount of heat. Okay, so the copper is having large amount of thermal conductivity, near about 300. Then aluminum is having large amount of thermal conductivity, that is near about 220. Okay, so such a materials need to select, and other thing is nothing but their manufacturing properties of that particular material. Okay, so brazing, whether it is possible to do the brazing or welding operations on that particular material, that is also important while selecting the envelope, or we can say that this is the envelope, or we can say that external structure of the heat pipe. Okay, so which is sealed outer wall that contains big structure and the working fluid. Now the inner surface of this tube, okay, the inner surface of tube is filled by, or we can say that the inner structure is considered as a porous structure. Okay, so one material is applied over the inner structure. Okay, and that inner structure is called as a wick structure. Okay, wick structure. So this wick structure is made up of again various materials are used like steel, copper, aluminum. Okay, now and there is one fluid which will be considered as a working fluid. Okay, which will be considered as a working fluid. Okay, so working fluid is present in that particular tube. Okay, so then how this particular heat exchanger is working. Okay, so basic phenomena to work this heat exchanger is nothing but evaporation and condensation. Okay, now where the heat is generated, okay, where the heat is generated means where heat source is present, at that location the one point or one side where the evaporation section is considered, so that particular side is placed at that particular location where the heat source is present. Okay, now the working fluid initially is in the form of a liquid. Okay, at this particular evaporator section. Okay, this is the evaporator section. Now the working fluid is present here in the form of a liquid, in the form of a liquid state. Okay, now once the heat is transferred from that source to the tube, okay, then the tube will be transfer the heat to the liquid fluid. Okay, then tube will be transfer the heat to the liquid fluid. Okay, now whatever the liquid present in this evaporative section will get converted into vapor by absorbing the latent heat. Okay, by absorbing the latent heat. Okay, so this is important point. Okay, the liquid will absorb, which will be present in the evaporation section. That particular liquid will absorb the heat from the envelope or from the tube. Okay, and that heat absorption will be considered as a latent heat of absorption. Okay, and the liquid will get converted, or working fluid will get converted in vapor form. Okay, in vapor form. So as the liquid get converted in the vapor form, this particular vapor because of a pressure difference will transport from evaporative section to the another end. Okay, from the evaporative section to the another end, where will be considered as a condenser section or condensation section. Okay, so another end will be considered as a condensation section. So here the we can say that this condenser section is exposed to the environment where heat is rejected, or we can say that heat sink is present. Okay, so in pieces we can see that there are fans are provided, okay, which will blow the air through this particular heat exchangers. Okay, heat pipe heat exchanger. So such a heat sinks are present where this condenser section is provided. Okay, another side of the heat pipe is placed where the heat sink is present. Okay, where the heat sink is present. Now in this particular heat sink, what is happening in this heat sink? The liquid or the vapor, okay, initially the working fluid is in the form of a vapor in the condenser section. Okay, now this vapor will reject the latent heat of condensation to the tube. Okay, will reject the latent heat of condensation to the tube. Okay, and tube will reject the heat to the external environment. Tube will reject the heat to the external environment, and that particular vapor will get condensed. As the latent heat of condensation is transferred to the external environment, this vapor or working fluid, which is in the form of a vapor phase in condensation section, will get condensed, and it will be absorbed by this particular wick structure. Okay, whatever the wick structure you can see here, this porous structure is present. This porous structure is called as a wick structure. Okay, so this will be condensed and will be absorbed by this wick structure. Now here is the main function of this wick structure. Okay, because of a porous structure, this particular wick structure will transport the working fluid, which is in the form of a liquid, to the evaporative section once again. Okay, due to capillary action. Due to capillary action. Okay, capillary action, everybody knows capillary action. Due to capillary action, this liquid which is present in the condenser section will once again transport to the evaporative section, where once again in the evaporative section the liquid is present in a liquid, the fluid is present in the liquid form, and once again this liquid will absorb the heat from the pipe. Okay, and once again it will get converted in vapor, and due to vapor pressure this particular vapor will be transported to the condenser section, and this process will be continue until and unless the heat source is present at the evaporative section. Okay, heat source is present at the evaporative section. Okay, so there will not be a requirement of any external source which will run this particular heat exchanger, or we can say that any electrical any special energy source is required to drive this heat exchanger. So that these type of heat exchangers are very special one. Okay, these types of heat exchangers are very special one, and transport the large amount of heat Okay, so here while filling the liquid, or we can say that the working fluid inside this particular tube, okay, inside the heat pipe, first of all the vacuum is created inside the tube. Okay, or all the pressure from the tube will be evacuated. Okay, it will be evacuated. So because of that, the boiling temperature and the condensing temperature, both the temperatures of liquid get dropped. Okay, will get dropped, and due to that, at a small temperature change also, the liquid get converted in the vapor form, and it will be get converted in a liquid form. Okay, and the more the specification, or we can say that this heat pipes are specialized by the wick structure. Okay, because of a capillary action. Okay, so this is the special thing in the heat pipe, that the fluid itself move from condenser section to the evaporative section because of a capillary action of that particular wick structure, which is present inside the tube. Okay, which is present inside the tube. Getting everyone the working and construction? So we can say that which are the main important parts of this particular heat pipes are nothing but one is container. Okay, container, external container. This is the external container. Second one is the wick structure, which is present over here. Okay, so which will be used or which is having main function to transfer the liquid from condenser section to the evaporative section. Okay, and the last one is nothing but working fluid. Okay, which is present inside the tube, and because of that the heat is transferred from evaporative section to the condenser section, and from the condenser section to the external environment. Okay, so here in this particular diagram, evaporative section is on this side. Okay, and condensation section is on this side. So in what is happening in adiabatic section? Okay, let us see this particular diagram. What is happening in adiabatic section? So the part of that particular tube, okay, out of the evaporative section and condensation section, what is the remaining part? Whatever the remaining part in this particular tube, in this particular part, the liquid or the working fluid is present in a vapor format. Okay, which is present in the vapor format in the tube, and it is also present in the liquid format in the wick structure. Okay, it is also present in the liquid format in the wick structure. So this particular section is called as a adiabatic section of heat pipe. Okay, this particular section is called as a adiabatic section of the heat pipe. Okay, getting everyone? So evaporative section, condensation section, and adiabatic section. So the heat pipe is divided into these three sections, and the main important parts, or we can say that components of this heat pipe are nothing but the container, then wick structure, and the working fluid. Okay, container, wick structure, and the working fluid. Okay, so what is the function of a container? Okay, container or envelope, a circular pipe which is sealed at both the end, has a layer of a wicking material covering the inside surface. It is evacuated and filled partially with the working fluid. Okay, the function of the container is to isolate the working fluid from the outside environment. Okay, the function of the container is to isolate the working fluid from the outside environment, because it is sealed from both the ends and there should not be any leakage to this container. Because of that, the efficiency of or the effectiveness of that particular heat pipe will be decreased, or it will not function properly. Okay, so it should be sealed properly and it should be evacuated. Evacuation means what? The whatever the pressure or whatever the air present inside that particular heat pipe is carried out. Okay, and then liquid will be filled in the section or in the heat pipe. Okay, so that is nothing but evacuation, removing out all the pressure, and we can say that there is vacuum present inside the tube, which will help for the working fluid to reduce its latent heat of evaporation and latent heat of condensation. Okay, so that at low temperature also the fluid will get condensed and it will get evaporated. Okay, so then wick structure. So what is meant by wick structure? It is a porous structure made up of material like steel, aluminum, nickel, or copper in various ranges of pore sizes. Okay, so depend on a requirement, this pore size will be changed, and the heat transfer rate is also depends on this particular pore sizes. Okay, it will also depend on this particular pore sizes. The prime purpose of the wick is to generate capillary pressure to transport the working fluid from the condenser to the evaporative section. Okay, so this is the primary function of a wick structure, or the wicks, that to transport the liquid from the condenser section to the evaporative section. Further, the working fluid. Okay, prime requirements are which material or which liquid will be considered as a working fluid. So that should be compatibility with the wick and the wall material, good thermal stability, then wettability of wick and wall material, then vapor pressure not too high or low over the operating temperature range, high latent heat, high thermal conductivity, low liquid and vapor viscosity, high surface tension, and acceptable freezing or pour point. Okay, so we can say that at the different temperature range, we have to use, or we have to consider the different working fluids. Okay, so according to the temperature range, the working fluids or the heat pipes are classified. Okay, are classified. So we come to know this point from this particular uh, different types of working fluids. So helium melting point is minus 271 and boiling point is minus 261. Okay, so in that case, the useful range for this type of a heat pipe which are using the helium is nothing but minus 271 to minus 269 degrees Celsius. Then nitrogen boiling point is, or melting point is minus 210 degrees Celsius and boiling point is minus 196. Okay, and so that its working range in between minus 203 to minus 160. So ethanol also can be used in between, melting point is in between minus 112 and boiling point is 78 degrees Celsius, whereas the useful range for the ethanol is 0 to 113. Then water is also can be used as a working fluid, but it should not contain any kind of minerals. Okay, so we can say that the laboratory H2O. So that will be used as a working fluid. So its range, we know that the melting point is 0 and the boiling point is 100. So the working range for water is 330 to 200 degrees Celsius. Then mercury is also used as a working fluid in heat pipe, whose melting point is minus 39 and boiling point is 361, and the working range in between 250 to 650. Okay, then sodium is also used as a working fluid, whose melting point is 98 degrees Celsius and boiling point is 892 degrees Celsius. So working range is in between 600 to 1200 degrees Celsius. Then methanol melting point is minus 98 degrees Celsius and boiling point is 64 degrees Celsius. So its working range in between 10 to 130 degrees Celsius. Okay, so these are the different working fluids which can be used in a heat pipe. Then working of a heat pipe. So just now we have discussed this particular working. Okay, so evaporative section is placed in the or we can say that the evaporative section is placed at the source location where the heat is generated. Okay, where the heat is generated, and that heat will be transported to the evaporative section, or we can say that tube of that evaporative section of that particular heat pipe, and that tube or the envelope will transfer the heat to the liquid or the working fluid which is present in the form of liquid in the evaporative section, and due to that the liquid will take the latent heat of evaporation and it will get evaporated, and due to the pressure difference this vapor will transport from evaporative section to the condenser section. Okay, evaporative section to the condenser section, where the condenser section is placed in at a location where the heat sink is present, or that particular container or the condenser will reject the heat to the external environment. And at that particular location, working fluid will get converted by transporting the latent heat of condensation to the wall of that particular container, and then container will transport the heat to the external environment, and the working fluid will get condensed and it will be absorbed by the capillaries. Okay, it will be absorbed by the weak structure, and due to capillary action, once again it will be transported to the evaporative section. Getting everyone? Okay, then what are the working or we can say that working of this particular heat pipe we can segregate in a three parts. That is nothing but evaporative section at one end where heat is absorbed and the fluid is vaporized. Second one is the condensation section at the another end where the vapor is condensed and heat is rejected. And the last section or the middle section in between evaporative section and the condenser section is nothing but adiabatic section in between, where the vapor and the liquid phases of the fluid flow in opposite direction through the core and through the wick respectively. Okay, through the core part, the vapor is transporting to the condenser section, whereas through the wick structure, the liquid working fluid is transported to the evaporative section. Okay, to the evaporative section. So that particular part of uh, heat pipe is called as the adiabatic section. Okay, so when heat is added to one end of the pipe, or we can say that at the evaporative section, the liquid is vaporized in the wick, and the vapor moves to the central core. Okay, due to vapor pressure difference, vapor moves to the condenser section. At the another end of the pipe, the heat is removed, or that is nothing but it will happen in the condenser, and the vapor condenses back into the wick. The liquid is replenished in the evaporative section by capillary action of wick. Okay, or the wick structure. Okay, so what is the effect of a gravity uh, on this particular heat pipe? Okay, so let us say that initially we have placed the heat pipe parallel to the ground. Okay, parallel to the ground, or we can say that the placement is flat one. Okay, and afterward we have raised one end. Okay, one end in a upward direction. Okay, one end in a upward direction. So evaporative section we have raised in a upward direction. So what will happen? So more time is required, or there will be effect on the capillary action. Okay, there will be effect on the capillary action. So the gravitational, because of the gravitational force, there will be pull effect, or the extra force will be applied on the capillary action, and because of that it will affect on the performance of heat pipe. Okay, it will affect on the performance of heat pipe. Okay, and if you raise the condenser section, okay, condenser section somewhat higher location than the evaporative section, okay, then we come to know that there will be effect on the flow of vapor from the evaporative section to the condenser section. Okay, the vapors are flowing from evaporative section to the condenser section, but the capillary action will be very fast, as because of a gravitational pull on the capillary action. Okay, because of the gravitational pull on the capillary action. Okay, so these effects also we need to consider while considering the application. Okay, so what is the effect? The heat pipe may be tilted so that the condenser is at the higher elevation than the evaporator. In this case, the action of gravity serves to speed the flow of liquid down through the wicking material. This is called as a favorable tilt. Okay, when we are raising the condenser section somewhat higher location than the evaporative section, then that particular tilt or the movement of the heat pipe will be considered as a favorable tilt, because in this case the liquid will transport very fastly from the condenser section to the evaporative section. Okay, in contrast, when the condenser is placed at a lower elevation than the evaporator, the action of gravity will impede the flow of liquid in the wick, and the heat pipe is said to have the adverse tilt. Okay, that particular heat pipe said to have a adverse tilt. Okay, so it gives maximum efficiency when it is vertical. Okay, it gives maximum efficiency when it is vertical. So vertical in such a manner that the condenser section should be at the top, and the evaporative section should be at the bottom. So in that case only we'll get the maximum heat transfer rate. Okay, or we can say that maximum efficiency of the heat pipe. Okay, maximum efficiency of the heat pipe. So what are its application? We know that we just discussed about this, that electronic devices. Okay, so such kind of electronic devices are there, and here copper tubes, you can see that these copper tubes are nothing but a heat pipe, and this is the condenser section for the heat pipe, where the heat is rejected to the external environment by providing the fan. Okay, by providing the fan. Okay, now in case of a solar system, most of the time you can see that such kind of a solar system. So internal pipes, if you see the internal pipes, so these pipes are nothing but one kind of a heat pipes only. Okay, one kind of a heat pipes only. Then in case of a aerospace, okay, where the large amount of heat need to reject to the external environment. In that case also, this particular heat pipes are very much essential. And the most of the industries, the heat pipes are used to recover the thermal energy. Okay, is used to the recover the thermal energy. Okay, so these kinds of applications are there, n number of applications are there for this particular heat pipes. The basic applications we have discussed, that is nothing but electronic cooling device, solar system, for then for aerospace, and then for the industries to recover the thermal energy. So these are the basic applications of a heat pipe. Okay, and by using the heat pipe you can increase the effectiveness of heat transfer. Okay, you can increase the effectiveness of heat transfer. So this is about the heat pipe. If you have any doubt, any question, you can ask. Is there any doubt, any question about the heat pipe? Whether you understood the construction, functions, and working of heat pipe? Is there any doubt, any question? Whether you understood the working of heat pipe? Okay, if you understood, then no problem. So you can give the heading as a heat pipe, and you can start writing heat pipe. In that, give heading as the introduction. 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 In that, write down first point. A heat pipe is a simple device. A heat pipe is a simple device. A heat pipe is a simple device. A heat pipe is a simple device with no moving parts. With no moving parts. A heat pipe is a simple device with no moving parts. With no moving parts. With no moving parts that can transfer. That can transfer. That can transfer large quantities of heat. That can transfer large quantities of heat. That can transfer large quantities of heat at a constant temperature. At a constant temperature. At a constant temperature without requiring any power input. Without requiring any power input. Without requiring any power input. Full stop. Next point. It is device. It is device. It is device that make use of change of phase. It is device that make use of change of phase. It is device that make use of change of phase to transfer the heat. To transfer the heat. It is composed of three sections. It is composed of three sections. It is composed of three sections. The first one is evaporator section. First one is evaporator section. Second one is condenser section. Second one is condenser section. And the last one is adiabatic section. last one is adiabatic section, third one is adiabatic section. Adiabatic section. So you can draw the simple diagram. Okay, so this diagram you can draw. One end you have to give the nomenclature as evaporator, another end you have to give the nomenclature as condenser, and the middle part you have to give the nomenclature or the name for the middle section as adiabatic section. Okay. Over diagram. Shall I move ahead? So components of heat pipe. First one is container, second one is wick, and third one is working fluid. Okay, components of heat pipe. First one is container, second one is wick, and third one is working fluid. We'll discuss one by one. Work container, weak and working fluid. First one is container. Okay, oblique envelope. Container oblique envelope. In that you can write a circular pipe, circular pipe, a circular pipe which is sealed at both the end, which is sealed at both the end, has a layer of wicking material. Weak material means what? Porous material. Okay, लहान लहान छिद्र असलेलं मटेरियल त्याला आपण वीक मटेरियल म्हणू शकतो. ओके, a circular pipe which is sealed at both the end has a layer of wicking material covering the inside surface, covering the inside surface, covering the inside surface, full stop. It is evacuated, it is evacuated, container is evacuated. Okay, evacuation means remove out all the air and reduce the pressure of a container below atmospheric pressure. So we can say that the vacuum pressure. Okay, so that process to reduce the pressure of any compartment or any section below the atmospheric pressure, that particular process is called as a evacuation. Okay, evacuation. So it is evacuated and filled partially with working fluid. Okay, filled partially with working fluid, full stop. Next point, the function of the container, the function of the container, the function of the container, the function of the container is to isolate, is to isolate the working fluid, the working fluid from the outside environment, the working fluid from the outside environment, the working fluid from the outside environment, full stop. Next is weak, weak. So here you can see this particular picture that after cutting uh, the heat pipe horizontally, you will come to know this particular weak structure. Okay, so weak, in that you can write it is a porous structure, it is a porous structure, it is a porous structure made of, it is a porous structure made of materials, made of materials like steel, like steel, comma, aluminum, like steel, comma, aluminum, comma, nickel, comma, nickel, or copper, or copper, or copper in various ranges of pore sizes, in various ranges of pore sizes, pore sizes, full stop. The prime purpose of, the prime purpose of, the prime purpose of The week is the prime purpose of the week is to generate to generate generate capillary pressure to generate capillary pressure capillary pressure to transport the working fluid from the condenser from the condenser to the evaporator from the condenser to the evaporator from the condenser to the evaporator from the condenser to the evaporator. Full stop. Prime requirements of working fluid are the prime requirements of working fluid are first one is compatibility with wick and wall material compatibility with wick and wall material. Next, good thermal stability good thermal stability. Good thermal stability. Next, wettability of wick and wall material wettability of wick and wall material. Wettability of wick and wall material. Then next, vapor pressure not too high or low, vapor pressure not too high or low over the operating temperature range, over the operating temperature range. Over the operating temperature range. Then high latent heat, high latent heat, high latent heat. Then next, high thermal conductivity, high thermal conductivity. High thermal conductivity. Next, low liquid and vapor viscosity, low liquid and vapor viscosity. Low liquid and vapor viscosity. Then high surface tension, high surface tension. And the last one, acceptable freezing and or pour point, acceptable freezing or pour point, acceptable freezing or pour point. साढ़े 4. Acceptable freezing or pour point. Okay, so these are the requirements of working fluid. Then you can write the table, draw this particular table and provide the melting point, boiling point and useful range for the particular working fluid. Draw table. Helium melting point minus 271, boiling point minus 261, useful range minus 271 to minus 269. Then nitrogen minus 210, melting point minus 210, boiling point minus 196, useful range 203 to 1 minus 203 to minus 160. Ethanol melting point minus 112, boiling point 78, and useful range 0 to 130. Then water melting point 0, boiling point 100, useful range 30 to 200. Then mercury melting point minus 39, boiling point 361, useful range 250 to 650. Then sodium melting point 98, boiling point 892, useful range 600 to 1200. Then methanol melting point 9 minus 98 and boiling point 64. Then useful range is 10 to 130. Useful range is 10 to 130. Over. Then working of heat pipe. You can write. Okay. So no need to draw once again this diagram because you have already drawn. So write down the working of heat pipe. First point, evaporator section at one end, evaporator section at one end, comma, where heat is absorbed, evaporator section at one end, where heat is absorbed and the fluid is vaporized, where heat is absorbed and fluid is vaporized. Second point, condenser section at the another end, at the other end, condenser section at the other end, condenser section at the other end, comma, where the vapor is condensed, where the vapor is condensed, where the vapor is condensed, where the vapor is condensed and heat is rejected, and heat is rejected, heat is rejected, full stop. Next, adiabatic section, adiabatic section, adiabatic section, adiabatic section, in between, in between, in between, comma, where the vapor and the liquid phases, where the vapor and the liquid phases, where the vapor and the liquid phases of the fluid flow in opposite directions, of the fluid flow in opposite directions, opposite directions through the core and the wick, through the core and the wick, comma, respectively. Okay, full stop. Next point. When heat is added, when heat is added, when heat is added to one end of the pipe, when heat is added to one end of the pipe, in bracket the evaporator, when heat is added to one end of pipe, in bracket the evaporator, in bracket the evaporator, comma, liquid is vaporized, liquid is vaporized, liquid is vaporized in the wick, in the wick, in the wick, and the vapor moves to the central core, and the vapor moves to the central core. Full stop. Due to the vapor pressure difference, due to the vapor pressure difference, due to the vapor pressure difference, vapor moves to condenser section. Vapor moves to condenser section. Full stop. At the other end, at the other end of the pipe, at the other end of the pipe, comma, heat is removed, heat is removed, in bracket, in bracket, the condenser. At the other end of the pipe, heat is removed, in bracket, the condenser, bracket complete, and the vapor condenses, and the vapor condenses back into the wick, and the vapor condenses back into the wick. Back into the wick. Full stop. Next point. Liquid is replenished. Replenished means punarbharan. Okay. Replenished meaning is punarbharan. Liquid is replenished in the evaporator. Liquid is replenished in the evaporator section by capillary action by wick structure. By capillary action by wick structure. By capillary action by wick structure. Then next you can write effect of gravity. Okay, effect of gravity. Effect of gravity. In that you can write the heat pipe may be tilted. The heat pipe may be tilted. The heat pipe may be tilted so that the condenser is at a higher elevation. The condenser is at a higher elevation than the evaporator. The condenser is at higher elevation than the evaporator. Full stop. In this case, In this case, the action of gravity, the action of gravity the action of gravity serves to speed the action of gravity serves to speed the flow of liquid serves to speed the flow of liquid serves to speed the flow of liquid down through the weakening material down through the weakening material, full stop. This is called favorable tilt. This is called favorable tilt. This is called favorable tilt. Next point, in contrast, in contrast, when the condenser is placed, when the condenser is placed at a lower elevation, at a lower elevation, at a lower elevation than the evaporator, than the evaporator, the action of gravity, the action of gravity will impede the flow, will impede the flow of liquid, will impede the flow of liquid, will impede the flow of liquid in the weak, in the weak, will impede the flow of liquid in the weak, in the weak, and the heat pipe, and the heat pipe, and the heat pipe is said to have, and the heat pipe is said to have an adverse tilt, and the heat pipe is said to have an adverse tilt, full stop. Next point, it gives maximum efficiency, it gives maximum efficiency, it gives maximum efficiency when it is vertical, it gives maximum efficiency when it is vertical. Okay, full stop. Applications, application, first one is electronics cooling, first one is electronics cooling, electronics cooling. Second one, solar system, solar system, solar systems. Solar systems. Then next, in aerospace, in aerospace, in aerospace. Next one, in industries, in industries, in industries, to recover, to recover, to recover thermal energy, to recover thermal energy. Okay, so this is the end up of our fifth number chapter, that is heat exchanger. By covering this particular last point, that is introduction to heat pipe, we have end up this chapter over here. Okay, so you can give the next heading as radiation. Okay, so radiation, third number chapter, our last chapter, chapter number 3, radiation. Chapter number 3, radiation. So university has provided the syllabus under this particular chapter as nature of thermal radiations, definition of absorptivity, reflectivity, transmissivity, then monochromatic emissive power and emissivity. Then concept of black body, gray body, and the laws, that Kirchhoff's law, Wien's law, Planck's law. Okay. The next one is deduction of Stefan Boltzmann equation. Deduction of Stefan Boltzmann equation. Then Lambert cosine rule. Then intensity of radiation. Then energy exchange by radiation between two black surfaces. Okay. Then geometric shape factor. Then energy exchange by radiation between gray surface without absorbing medium and absence of re-radiation and radiosity. Okay, and radiosity. Then next one is radiation network method, comma network or two faces which see each other and nothing else. Okay, and nothing else. So this syllabus university has provided under this particular radiation chapter. Okay, so we have discussed about the radiation in the last in the first lecture only. Okay, so in the first chapter only. Okay, so radiation is nothing but the emission of electromagnetic waves in all the direction. Okay, so radiation is phenomena happen because of electromagnetic waves, and these electromagnetic waves are traveling with the speed of light. Okay, this particular electromagnetic waves are traveling with the speed of light, and speed of light is 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. So that we can say that they're traveling with the light waves. Okay, whenever the sun rays are reaching to the earth, to that particular rays, with that particular rays, the radiation waves or that particular electromagnetic waves are also reached to the earth. Okay, reached to the earth, and we have to remember that every body emits radiation. Okay, at every temperature. Okay, every body emits radiation at every temperature, but below minus 273 degrees Celsius, or we can say that below absolute zero temperature, we will not detect the radiation. Will not detect the radiation. So we can say that everybody emits the radiation above absolute zero temperature. Okay, above absolute zero temperature. Okay, so radiation is basically defined as, the radiation heat transfer is defined as the transfer of energy across a system boundary by means of a electromagnetic mechanism, which is caused solely by temperature difference. Okay, there is an exchange of radiation between two bodies. Okay, there is always exchange of radiation between two bodies. If you consider that, if the two bodies are isolated, then there will be continuous exchange between these two bodies. Okay, so the uh, the body which are having higher temperature will emit the more intensity radiation towards the body which are having the lower temperature. Okay, and the body which are having the lower temperature, that particular body will accept the radiation more as compared to the body having large temperature. Okay, so that is the important point about the radiation. So we have to discuss the facts about the radiation, that it does not require any medium to transport the heat from one place to another place. So as we have discussed, in case of a conduction, that medium is required. Okay, within a body. Okay, within a body, the heat is transforming, or the bodies which are in a physical contact, the heat transfer between these two bodies will be considered as a conduction. So the medium is required to transfer the heat by conduction. Also, for the convection, we have discussed that the fluid particle itself moves from one place to another place, and due to that movement, the heat is transferred from one region of a fluid to the another region of a fluid. Okay, so for the convection also, the medium is required, fluid medium is required to transfer the heat from one place to the another place. But we know that our Mother Earth is so much away from the sun, and there is no medium present in between sun and earth. So how this particular heat is transferred? So this heat is transferred because of a radiation from sun to the earth. Okay, from the sun to the earth. So that will prove that the radiation heat transfer does not require any kind of a medium. Okay, so it will transfer because the light rays are propagated through vacuum. As we know that to propagate the light rays, it does not require the medium. Okay, and in a similar fashion, the radiation waves or electromagnetic waves which govern the radiation heat transfer, it also does not require any kind of medium to propagate. Okay, so it will also propagate, or it will transfer the heat through vacuum also. Okay, it will transfer the heat through vacuum also. Now, in case of conduction and convection, we have discussed that we have to take the temperature difference. That is, in case of conduction, we know that Q is equal to minus K multiplied by A multiplied by dt divided by dx, where that particular dt is nothing but a temperature difference. Okay, T1 minus T2 or T2 minus T1. So this particular temperature difference is of a first order. Okay, or it is having first power. Okay, means what, t raised to 1 is there. Okay, but in case of, so that if you take the temperature in a degree Celsius, or if you take the temperature in a degree Kelvin, or if you take the units in a degree Celsius, or if you take the units in a degree Kelvin, there will not be any difference for the conduction and convection. In case of a convection also, q is equal to ha delta t. Okay, ha dt. That dt is also once again a temperature difference, and it is of the first power. Okay, it is of the first power, that is nothing but t raised to 1 only. So that if you take the temperature in a degree Celsius, or if you take the temperature in a degree Kelvin, there will not be any difference in the calculation. There will not be any difference in the calculation. But in case of a radiation, it is matter what you are taking the temperature. Okay, whether you are taking the temperature in a degree Celsius or degree Kelvin, that matters in a radiation, because all the calculations are wrong, or become wrong if you take the temperatures in a degree Celsius. Okay, if you take the temperatures in a degree Celsius. While dealing with the radiation, you always remember that the temperature which are you are taking for the calculation purpose, that all the temperature should be in a absolute temperature, or in the form of a Kelvin. Okay, Kelvin temperature. Okay, in the form of a Kelvin temperature. So for that purpose, if the problem is if it is provided the temperature in a degree Celsius, then you have to convert that temperature in a Kelvin by adding 273. Then and then only you can move ahead for the further calculations of radiation, or else the calculations of a radiation heat transfer will be wrong if you take the temperatures in a degree Celsius, because here the heat transfer in the radiation is directly proportional to fourth power of absolute temperature, is directly proportional to fourth power of absolute temperature. So there is a matter about the power. Okay, so in conduction and convection, there is a power of a temperature is t raised to 1, so that there will not be any difference, and we are taking the temperature difference only. So if you take it in a degree Celsius or degree Kelvin, okay, that the difference will be same one. Okay, if you subtract 100 minus 200, okay, or 200 minus 100, or if you add 100 plus 273, That will be nothing but 373 minus you add 200 plus 273, that will be 473. Once again the difference will be 100 only. Okay, once again the difference will be 100 only. So but in case of radiation, you are taking the difference of t raised to 4. Okay, t raised to 4, t1 raised to 4 minus t2 raised to 4. So power is fourth power. Okay, so in this case the quantity you are selecting for the temperature, if it differ, the value of fourth power will be different one, so the calculation will be wrong one. Okay, so you have to focus on this particular point while dealing with the temperature. In case of radiation, you have to consider the absolute temperature only. Okay, you have to consider the absolute temperature only. Okay, so this is the simple example about the radiation, how the radiation rays or the radiation waves are propagated from the sun towards the earth. Okay, now this particular radiation emitted by any surface, we have discussed that every body can emit the radiation at every temperature, and this particular emission of radiation is depends on this particular three factor. First one is temperature of the surface. Okay, how much temperature, at what temperature that particular body or the surface of that body is maintained, that also matter on the emission of radiation. Then nature of surface, whether that particular surface is a black body, okay, whether that surface is a white body, or whether that particular surface is a gray body, or another body, we can say that the surface is painted or not painted. Okay, so all this particular factor will be considered as a nature of the surface. Okay, then on that particular factor, the emissivity of the body will be depend. Okay, emissivity of the body will depend. So that will be discussed once again in upcoming lectures about the emissivity. Okay, so then the last one is nothing but the wavelength and frequency of a radiation. Okay, wavelength and frequency of a radiation, and how they are correlated to each other. We know that lambda is equal to c divided by f. Okay, where the lambda is nothing but wavelength of radiation, c is the velocity of light. Okay, c is the velocity light, and f is nothing but frequency of radiation, as, or we can say that velocity of electromagnetic waves. But the electromagnetic waves are traveling with the light waves, so we can say that the electromagnetic waves having the velocity equal to the light velocity. So we can consider the velocity of electromagnetic waves as velocity of light, and velocity of light is 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. Okay, and f is nothing but frequency of radiation. So we can calculate the frequency of radiation or wavelength of radiation or frequency of radiation by using this particular formula, that is wavelength is equal to velocity of light divided by frequency of radiation. Wavelength is equal to velocity of light divided by frequency of radiation. Okay, so this is about the introductory part of radiation. So you can write introduction, introduction, give the heading as chapter number 3, radiation. In that introduction, first point, radiation heat transfer, radiation heat transfer, radiation heat transfer is defined as, radiation heat transfer is defined as the transfer of energy, the transfer of energy, the transfer of energy across a system boundary, across a system boundary, across a system boundary, across a system boundary by means of by means of by means of by means of electromagnetic mechanism electromagnetic mechanism by means of electromagnetic mechanism which is caused which is caused electromagnetic mechanism which is caused solely by temperature difference which is caused solely by temperature difference which is caused solely by temperature difference. Full stop. Next point. For conduction and convection heat transfer, for conduction and convection heat transfer, medium is required. Medium is required by conduction and convection heat transfer. Medium is required, but radiation heat transfer taking place. But radiation heat transfer taking place. But radiation heat transfer taking place through vacuum also. Radiation heat transfer taking place through vacuum also. Next point, in case of conduction, in case of conduction and convection, in case of conduction and convection, in case of conduction and convection, heat transfer varies. Heat transfer varies. Heat transfer varies with first power of temperature. Heat transfer varies with first power of temperature, but but in case of radiation, in case of radiation, in case of radiation, heat transfer varies. Heat transfer varies. Heat transfer varies with fourth power of temperature. With fourth power of temperature. With fourth power of temperature. Next point. The radiation emitted, the radiation emitted, radiation emitted depends upon the radiation emitted depends upon first one, temperature of the surface, temperature of the surface. Second one, nature of the surface, nature of the surface, nature of the surface. And the third one, wavelength and frequency of radiation. Wavelength and frequency of radiation. Wavelength and frequency of radiation. Okay, where wavelength is given as wavelength is equal to lambda is nothing but wavelength, f is frequency, where lambda is equal to c divided by f. Lambda is equal to c divided by f. Lambda is called a wavelength of radiation. Lambda is called wavelength of radiation. Wavelength of radiation. C is equal to velocity of light. C is equal to velocity of light, and which is equal to 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. Then F is equal to frequency of radiation. F is equal to frequency of radiation. The next point is total emissive power. Write down the heading, total emissive power. Okay. So as in case of conduction and convection, we are dealing with heat flux, that is heat transfer rate per unit area. In a similar fashion, in case of radiation, we have to deal with emissive power. Okay, we have to deal with the emissive power, and it is defined as the total amount of radiation emitted by a body per unit area per unit time. Okay, per unit area per unit time, and its unit is once again the unit like the heat flux, that is the heat transfer rate per unit area. Similarly, the unit of emissive power is watt per meter square. Okay, unit of emissive power is expressed as watt per meter square. Then this particular emissive power specifically defined or established by the Stefan Boltzmann. According to this particular Stefan Boltzmann law, the emissive power of a black body is proportional to fourth power of absolute temperature. Okay, according to the Stefan Boltzmann law, which is the law will be considered as a basic law for the radiation. Okay, the Stefan Boltzmann law. So this Stefan Boltzmann law expresses the emissive power of a black body, and this emissive power of a black body is directly proportional to fourth power of temperature, fourth power of absolute temperature. Absolute temperature means the temperature in a Kelvin. Okay, fourth power of temperature, which is in a Kelvin. So emissive power of a black body, that is nothing but E suffix B. Emissive power of a black body, we have given the nomenclature for emissive power of a black body as E suffix B. Okay, and it is directly proportional to T raised to 4. Okay, and once again, this equation E suffix B is directly proportional to T raised to 4. We have to normalize this equation, and after normalizing equation, we will get the equation as E raised to B is equal to sigma multiplied by T raised to 4, where sigma is nothing but Stefan Boltzmann constant. Sigma is nothing but Stefan Boltzmann constant, and its value is, I have to write its value. Sigma is equal to 5.67 into 10 to the power minus 8 watt. Okay, I will take this one. Watt per meter square multiplied by Kelvin raised to 4. Kelvin raised to 4. Okay, so Stefan Boltzmann constant value is 5.67 into 10 raised to minus 8 watt per meter square Kelvin raised to 4. Remember this value. Okay, remember this value and remember this particular law related to the radiation. Okay, law related to what is meant by emissive power. Emissive power is nothing but total amount of radiation emitted by the surface per unit area per unit time. Okay, or we can say that total amount of energy liberated by the surface per unit area. Okay, now this energy liberation is happen because of a emission of a radiation, because of a emission of a radiation. So that particular emission of a radiation per unit area is called as a emissive power. Okay, is called as a emissive power. Okay, or else you can write this also, emissive power of a black body is equal to sigma multiplied by T raised to 4. So according to the Stefan Boltzmann law, emissive power of a black body is directly proportional to T raised to 4. Now here the concept of a black body is most important. Okay, concept of a black body is most important. The body which will absorb all the heat energy or all the radiation which is fallen on that particular body. Okay, the body which absorb all the radiation which are fallen on that particular body surface, such a body will be considered as black body. Such a body will be considered as a black body. And the another concept is opposite to the black body, that is nothing but white body. Okay, the another concept about opposite to the black body is nothing but a white body. The white body is differentiated from black body as the body which reflect all the radiation which are fallen on that particular body are called as a white body. Okay, the body which will reflect means what, जितने radiation उस body पर पड़ रहे हैं उसमें से उसमें से सभी radiation वो reflect कर रही है. Okay, so that we know that the white cloths are the good reflectors, whereas the black cloths are the good absorbers. Okay, good absorbers. Similar fashion, the body which absorb all the radiations, such bodies are called as the black bodies, and the bodies which reflect all the radiations which are fallen on the surface of that particular body will be considered as the white body. Okay, will be at normal level. This description about the two bodies will be sufficient one. So next concept is monochromatic oblique spectral emissive power. Okay, next concept is monochromatic oblique spectral emissive power. So we should know that when the radiations are emitted, okay, the intensity of radiation is different one for the different wavelength. Okay, intensity of radiation is different means what, the amount of heat energy liberated by the radiation for different wavelength is different one. Okay, different one. So for that particular temperature, body will emit the radiation for different wavelength. Okay, for different wavelength. But for a particular wavelength, okay, for a particular wavelength, how much amount of heat or the how much amount of radiations are emitted by the surface. Okay, how much amount of radiations are emitted by the surface for particular wavelength. Okay, that determination is very much important in case of spectral in case of radiation, and that particular emission of radiations for particular wavelength is known as monochromatic emissive power or a spectral emissive power. Okay, so it is often necessary to determine the spectral distribution energy radiated by the surface. Okay, spectral distribution समजतंय का, स्पेक्ट्रल डिस्ट्रीब्युशन म्हणजे काय, पर्टिक्युलर वेव्हलेंथला किती हीट किंवा किती रॅडिएशन इमिट झाले, ह्या वेव्हलेंथला एवढे रॅडिएशन इमिट झाले, ह्या वेव्हलेंथला एवढे रॅडिएशन इमिट झाले. हा जो ग्राफ असेल, ओके, हा जो ग्राफ असेल तो स्पेक्ट्रल डिस्ट्रीब्युशन आपण म्हणू, स्पेक्ट्रल डिस्ट्रीब्युशन ग्राफ असेल म्हणू. ओके, सो फॉर पर्टिक्युलर वेव्हलेंथ, एका वेव्हलेंथला किती हीट किती रॅडिएशन इमिट झाले, तर ती जी कन्सेप्ट आहे त्या कन्सेप्टला आपण काय म्हणू शकतो, मोनोक्रोमॅटिक इमिसिव्ह पॉवर म्हणू शकतो. ओके, इट इज कॉल्ड ॲज मोनोक्रोमॅटिक इमिसिव्ह पॉवर. ओके, सो इट इज ऑफन नेसेसरी टू डिटरमाइन द स्पेक्ट्रल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन एनर्जी radiated by surface at any given temperature. The amount of radiation emitted per unit wavelength varies at different wavelengths. Okay, for this purpose monochromatic emissive power of the surface is used. Okay, so and it is defined as the rate of energy radiated per unit area of the surface per unit wavelength. Okay, so this definition, rate of energy radiated per unit area, is nothing but emissive power, and per unit area per unit wavelength, that is nothing but the monochromatic emissive power. Okay, that is nothing but the monochromatic emissive power. So if you want to determine the total emissive power, then it can be given as E will be considered as a total emissive power. Okay, E lambda will be considered as a particular monochromatic emissive power, okay, for the particular length, for the particular wavelength, and we have to take the integration over the entire bandwidth of that particular wavelength. So that will be bandwidth will be considered from 0 to infinity. Okay, so we have to provide the integration to the monochromatic emissive power with the limits 0 to infinity, so that we will get the total emissive power. So that we will get the total emissive power. And E lambda will be considered as a monochromatic emissive power. E lambda will be considered as a monochromatic emissive power. Getting everyone? Monochromatic emissive power. So you can write these two, total emissive power and monochromatic emissive power. Okay, first one is total emissive power. Total emissive power. In that, write down total emissive power. In that, write down defined as defined as defined as total amount of radiations, defined as total amount of radiations emitted by a body emitted by a body per unit area per unit time, emitted by a body per unit area per unit time, emitted by a body per unit area per unit time, full stop. It is expressed in watt per meter square. It is expressed in watt per meter square. It is expressed in watt per meter square. Next point, according to Stephen Boltzmann, according to the Stephen Boltzmann, according to Stephen Boltzmann, according to Stephen Boltzmann, the emissive power of black body, the emissive power of black body, emissive power of black body is proportional to fourth power of absolute temperature. According to Stephen Boltzmann, the emissive power of black body is proportional to fourth power of absolute temperature, is proportional to fourth power of absolute temperature, full stop. So according to the statement, mathematically we can write E suffix B, that is the emissive power of a black body, capital E suffix B, the emissive power of a black body is directly proportional to T raised to 4, is directly proportional to T raised to 4, is directly proportional to T raised to 4. Then the equation after normalization we will get as E suffix B is equal to sigma multiplied by T raised to 4, and the unit is watt per meter square, watt per meter square. And the sigma, that is nothing but Stephen Boltzmann constant, is 5.67 into 10 raised to minus 8 watt per meter square Kelvin raised to 4, watt per meter square Kelvin raised to 4. Okay. Then next concept is monochromatic oblique spectral emissive power. Monochromatic oblique spectral emissive power. Monochromatic oblique spectral emissive power. So in that you can write, it is often necessary, it is often necessary, it is often necessary to determine, to determine, to determine the spectral distribution spectral distribution of energy radiated by surface. It is often necessary to determine the spectral distribution of energy radiated by surface. Full stop. Full stop. At any given temperature, at any given temperature, at any given temperature, at any given temperature, the amount of radiation emitted at any given temperature, the amount of radiation emitted per unit wavelength, per unit wavelength varies at different wavelengths, varies at different wavelengths, varies at different wavelengths. Full stop. Next point. For this purpose, for this purpose, for this purpose, monochromatic emissive power of the surface is used. For this purpose, monochromatic emissive power of the surface is used. For this purpose, monochromatic emissive power of the surface is used. And it is defined as, and it is defined as the rate of energy radiated, the rate of energy radiated, it is defined as the rate of energy radiated per unit area, per unit area of the surface, per unit area of the surface, per unit wavelength, per unit area of the surface, per unit wavelength. Next point, the total emissive power, the total emissive power, the total emissive power is given as, the total emissive power is given as capital E, that is the emissive power, total emissive power, which is equal to integration of the wavelength 0 to infinity with the limits of wavelength from 0 to infinity, and uh, in the integration of E lambda, that is the monochromatic emissive power multiplied by D lambda. Okay, over the entire wavelength, you are considering the integration for the monochromatic emissive power. Okay, so E is equal to integration with the limit 0 to infinity, integration of E lambda multiplied by D lambda. Okay, then where this E lambda, E suffix lambda is nothing but monochromatic emissive power, monochromatic emissive power for the particular wavelength. Okay, how much radiation emitted from the surface. Okay, that is nothing but monochromatic emissive power. Okay, in a simple language, monochromatic emissive power. Okay, so we'll stop here. Emission from real surface, give the next heading, and we will discuss this part in the next lecture. Okay, if you have any doubt, any question, you can ask now only about the heat pipe, about the radiation. You can ask and clear your doubt in the lecture only. Is there any doubt, any question? If you don't have any doubt, any question, then you can put up your roll numbers in the chat box and you can leave. everyone just put over your roll numbers and you can leave the meeting.